Admittedly, when I was in elementary school, I was a little bit of a menace with my nails, and anytime I didn't get my way or wanted to get something, I would sink my nails into people and make them bleed, which I now realize is not a good thing, but at the time, it seemed normal. When I was just 6, I made a girl bleed. I sunk my nails and ain't nobody takes you from me, just like you taught me. That lyric is so literal. Like, there is no interpretation to that at all. When I was in kindergarten, the school that I went to only had one Barbie shopping cart, and I had it one day, and this girl took it from me, so I took it back. Thought I was crazy when I reached 13. My mind in pieces like the headboard that you smashed in the streets. Just what you wanted from me. So that line is unfortunately also very literal. When I was about 13 years old, I believe I was a freshman in high school, and my dad wanted me to make him like a playlist or something, and I didn't do it within 24 to 48 hours, and he took the headboard of my bed and literally smashed it in the middle of the street. I'm not entirely sure why, because when you're a child, your parents are the one buying all the things that you own, but that is what happened. 'Cause I took violence and made it a home. You're just like your daddy, yeah, so I've been told. Screams in the background, it's all coming back now. You're reactive, the fact is I'm nothing like you. 'Cause I took violence and made it a home is basically about growing up and realizing that I started to think that responding to things in a really reactive and angry way was normal, because you don't really know any better when you're little, except for your parents are kind of like the first examples that you have of like how to be a person. And when 50% of that example is very angry and very reactive, you're like, okay, well, he seems to be getting his way. Maybe that's how I'll do it. The "you're just like your daddy" line, my mom used to always say that I reminded her of my dad, and that can definitely be true in a lot of ways. We have like a really similar sense of humor and intellect, but I always kind of resented it just because I thought of him so much as his anger issues. If my voice cracks on this next part, please don't judge me. Used to have a temper, but I lost it. Isn't that exactly what you wanted? Used to have a temper, but I lost it. Don't know who you're lying to. I don't wanna be like you. Never wanna see me that you lost. Then feeling sorry that I thought I was the problem. Used to have a temper, but I lost it. You keep your apologies, you know that you're dead to me. This song was written, I want to say, in either 2022 or 2023, and I actually vividly remember coming up with the concept for it because I was driving home from work, and all of a sudden it just popped in my head that I was like, oh, unlearning my anger issues is losing my temper, but also when somebody gets like really violent and reactive, that's also losing your temper. So I really loved the double entendre of losing your temper as me unlearning my anger issues and also losing your temper as in getting violent, and that's kind of how I came up with the concept of the song. I remember I was very proud of myself for coming up with it, and I intentionally held onto it until I had a session with my producer Alex and my writer Sammy, because I knew that they would be the perfect pairing for it, and they absolutely crushed it. The "isn't that exactly what you wanted" line is basically about how my dad kind of thinks that reacting to things the way that he does is normal and probably is what he wanted from me, but I grew up and saw that, and I was like, that is not really the kind of person that I want to be. So I actively took the steps to unlearn it, but it did take a while and therapy. Also, the "don't know who you're lying to, I don't want to be like you" line, similar thing. I think my dad really always saw me as sort of like a reflection of him. And again, that can be true in a lot of ways. We have a very similar sense of humor, sense of intellect, but the anger issue thing was such a large part that I wanted to make sure did not become part of my identity. Never want to see me, that's your loss then. My dad and I were actually estranged for over 6 years until about 2.5 months ago. We actually just started talking again, so I hope he never sees this, but fingers crossed. He is old, so I don't think he's spending much time on YouTube. One of our last communications was an email that he sent me, and it basically was kind of a nail in the coffin for our relationship for the time being, and it was kind of just me accepting that my dad and I not having a relationship isn't necessarily a reflection on myself and who I am, but just a reflection on our relationship and how it can't really be in the state that it was. You handed me the torch, told me to burn it down. I didn't know better, so I watched the whole world drown in smoke. White lines and jokes, trying to let my old self go.
You handed me the torch, told me to burn it down was basically, again, just kind of learning how to interact in the world from your parents, because it's all that you know. And I was like, all right, we're doing anger, we're doing reactivity, got it, I will do that. And then the white lines and jokes, trying to let my old self go line is about using drugs and humor basically as a way to self-soothe and be like, this is not the kind of person that I want to be.
But it's thicker than water, you know. Shoved down my throat till I started to choke.
One of my favorite things in the entire world is when a saying is known, but it is usually not the full saying, and sometimes the full saying changes the meaning. So my favorite example of that is blood is thicker than water. A lot of people don't realize that the full phrase of that is actually the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, which means the exact opposite as blood is thicker than water. Blood is thicker than water is trying to say that nothing is more important than family, but the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb actually means that the family that you make for yourself is more important than your actual family. I thought that was a perfect line for the bridge because, again, it is such a misnomer and it constantly gets misconstrued in the exact opposite of its original meaning. And I think that sometimes I get really frustrated when people put a large focus on family and having a good relationship with your family, because sometimes the people in your family are not the best people, and the fact that you don't have a good relationship with them doesn't necessarily mean anything bad about yourself. It just means that sometimes the family that you choose for yourself is going to have to be a little bit better for you than your blood family. This has been the lyric breakdown for Temper. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed watching. Bye.